What up, y'all? You're listening to the Gopher Broke podcast. Two guys talking Gophers once a week, but it's going to be worth it each one of those weeks. I'm telling you right now. So definitely be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube. Tap in. You've got your boy Kane Rob, formerly with Locked On, but we got an upgrade right now, I'm saying, because we have no filter. We get to go off the cuff. No ads right now. I mean, I feel like I'm living a good life. And then you got your boy Tristyn Spann-Ford, who everybody loves, everybody knows, and everybody loves the humor too. I've been getting some good feedback on that one. How you feeling, Tristyn?
I'm feeling great. I've also gotten some good feedback as well. It feels good to get more people laughing at me than more than just my kids, because it seems like they might be the only people who think I'm funny, and so it feels good just to kind of be loose, let it loose, talking
Yes.
football. That's all I want.
I'm with you. And we're here to talk Gophers football every week, and we have to talk about the biggest news that dropped today officially. I mean, it's kind of happened over the last couple days, but Phillip Daniels, man. Phillip Daniels was looking to be a starter here for the Golden Gophers. He started the last 4 games as an offensive lineman. We're losing 3 starters. It looked like he was teed up to be the next Gopher in succession, and he transfers, and people are like, what the heck is going on? Why would he transfer? Like, he's going to be a starter? Did we not have enough money? What's going on? Turns out he's committing to Ohio State. Now, he's from Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, but how are you feeling about this? Does it feel a little foul? Does it feel a little wrong? Because I just got a bad taste in my mouth right now.
Here's the thing: I'm not a big proponent of the whatchamacallit, tampering. I'm not a big, tampering happens, people.
Oh, for
Tampering
sure.
happens. And I think
Absolutely.
it's just more of hitting home because the Gophers don't produce a lot of guys who need to be tampered with. And I think that's the reality of the situation. But I think it does show a testament to the growth that our O-line coach puts on the players, because there's a reason that he needed to go. There's a reason that these teams like Ohio State wanted him right away. Granted, he is from Ohio, but I think it does show that we can produce guys. Like, we can get guys in here that can grow. Now, it does suck because we're on the other end, whereas we're typically the guys who bring in these running backs out of nowhere and they become, perennial 100-yard game guys. So I think it just sucks because we're on the other end of it this time.
I feel you. Except for I saw somebody comment on Twitter saying like, "Hey, you guys just had 10 commits in over the weekend, but then all of a sudden one leaves and it's tampering." And I get the sentiment, but every single one of those Gophers guys came and visited campus, so it's not like it was like, "Yo, hey, how's it going, sweetie? You want to come on over to the Gophers? You don't need to visit us. Just come on." Like, whereas Phillip didn't take any visits or anything like that. So I can see where it's like, bro, what's happening here? How is this happening? But overall, I mean, he was likely to be the starter at the right tackle last year. He battled in this past fall as the right tackle with Martez Lewis, and then things got shifted. Quinn went to right. We had Beers in that guard at times. Then eventually Quinn back. Look, our offensive line was all over the place this year with injuries and production and whatnot. Final 4 games, Phillip looked pretty good in those games. But my biggest question with Phillip Daniels is he even going to get to start at Ohio State? Because, like, I would get it if they're like, yo, you're going to come here. We are a playoff team, and I guarantee 100% you will be our starter. Look, if you're going to tell me that, you're going to pay me more. I'm going to be the starter on a team that is going to the playoffs. We've got big-time quarterbacks, whatever. I can't blame a guy. If somebody's going to put all that in front of me, I'm going to be tempted too. But I don't see it as a potential lock for him to be a starter. And if it's not, you're leaving an offensive line that is probably going to have a first-round tackle this year, so they show you can get it done. We just had a center that was drafted in the 2nd round. Fa'alele was drafted recently. Tyler Cooper could get drafted this year. Quinn Carroll is in one of the pre-draft bowls this year. So the offensive line has shown a ton of growth here with Minnesota, and if you were telling me I could be a starter for the next 3 years with the Gophers and have a shot at the NFL still, or maybe go to Ohio State and it's not guaranteed I'm going to play, I'm probably going to take that for sure thing. But that's just me.
No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, I hope they offered him a bajillion dollars. I hope he gets a bajillion dollars. I hope he starts. But I see the same thing. Like, you're going to a place where they're bringing in 5-star guys who have been there already, who have been playing behind these other guys. Like, you're not guaranteed to start. Whereas you could stay in Minnesota and we're in the same conference and play against the same competition and put up the same film and be the guy here, like you might not get as much film at Ohio State as you would have in Minnesota over the next few years. So you're definitely taking a risk. Again, I hope he does great, but I also don't see the vision. Like, what are you? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it either. But
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
get your bread now. Get your bread
Hey,
now. I'm
I
here for
mean,
it.
get it while you can.
Yes,
I
exactly.
can't blame a man for making some money. But overall, what I will say is that normally I'm a guy that, like, once we hit the playoff stage, usually the Gophers aren't in the playoffs. They're usually not in the conversation for a natty, unfortunately. Maybe one day. Maybe
Till
we
next
will
year.
have that year eventually. But um, I usually root for Big Ten schools because I'm like, look, I want our conference to be the best of the best. And when we play, we can be like, yeah, we're in the best conference, so eat it.
Yeah.
But overall, I will not be cheering for Ohio State this weekend. I will be going for Tennessee. I will be hoping they absolutely smack them because Ryan Day talked about in the presser this week. He basically was like, yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to look around the Big Ten and see if we can poach some of these kids. He said it in the most professional way possible, but he was like, basically, he talked about how freshmen or guys in year 1 and 2 at the 5 stars, you usually don't get to play all the time, especially at an elite program, blah, blah, blah. But, like, if you look across the conference and you see these guys that are getting in early and they can hold their own, like, we value that and we need to start bringing a different value to that and using that within our calibrations for how we want to build our team. AKA, I'm going to look across this conference, see
Yeah.
if I can pick up some of these dudes from the other playing well in the Big Ten and bring them to my school. And look, bro, I hope you fail now. Like, get out of here with that bull
He
crap.
literally just sat back and been like, yeah, the Big Ten is our farm system. Everyone else is just a farm system for us. We're going to just do what we can. I think Ryan Day may have overestimated how many people want to play for Ryan Day.
Hey, man, I'm just waiting for next year's Michigan game at this point. Like, bro, good luck.
You're going to have a different M on your chest for that game.
Yeah, go blue. Go blue. Hey, but one final thing we'll say on this Phillip thing before we move on. Here's what a former Gopher, Coney Durr, from I believe he is on the
Oh, I
2016 and
saw he was going
2017
in on
team.
Twitter today.
Look, he had this to say on Twitter. He said, this has to stop. Guys, gets in the portal, takes 0 visits, and all of a sudden he's committed 2 days later. He also said the guy leaves a starting spot on a good Big Ten team that just produced a first-round talent lineman of the year. Kids don't stand on no loyalty or morals anymore. They will soon realize life doesn't work like the college football simulation they live in. Look, he ain't wrong. He's
And no,
spitting facts.
he makes good points. I just think it's such a tough situation. Like I love the transfer portal at times and I hate the transfer portal at times. And I think everyone feels the same way. It just all depends on how it works out for you.
Right, right.
You
It
know what
feels
I'm
good when
saying?
we're
And
getting the
so
portal guys, but when they're taking them, God
exactly,
damn it, give me them back.
if Coney would have had the portal when he was here and somebody was on his phone talking about, hey, we got some money for you over here. Why don't you come over here and get some money? Because when did Coney graduate? 2019 was his last year?
I think so, but here's my thing. Coney is diehard, my guy. I think
Oh
he's
yeah,
one
he
of
is.
those dudes that's like, nah, bro, let me shine this axe while you sit here and try to give me this
Oh yeah.
money. So, but I get what you're saying there. I get you're like,
Yeah. No,
look,
he's good
it's a
people.
lot
He's good
harder.
people. Yes,
It's a lot harder when the phone call comes and you're seeing the M's and you're like,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it
right,
can be a lot more of a decision. And I don't know. You don't know what some of these guys like living situation is or what they got
right.
going on at home. If it's more of a like a okay, it's right now. Like
It's
that's a
do or
lot of
die
money
now or
right now
never.
that can help me
Right,
right now. Then I gotta go. You know, like
right,
that's where I could see it from. But
right,
it sucks. I hate it so
right.
much.
Well, the Gophers answered, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but we want to talk about the offensive line first. So, Phillip Daniels is gone. So, what do we have going with this offensive line moving forward? So, right now, guys who have started a game at least in college football that are on this team, Greg Johnson, who started all of our games as center last year, also started as a true freshman a little bit. Ashton Beers got some games at guard. He's probably going to be a starter next year.
Yep.
Martez Lewis officially said he is coming back today. I think before this transfer happened, you're probably like Martez Lewis is maybe a backup, or if we can't find a young guy to step up, then he can step in. But now I think he is insurance. Like you're like, hey, he started. We've seen him do it. Like
Oh,
we
you
have
have
someone that
to.
can be a capable guy right there. So that's nice. And then you got two transfers that haven't started here but have started on other teams in Illuma Nickel and Marcellus Marshall, who we'll talk about in more detail. He transferred officially today. So we lose Phillip Daniels. We bring in Marcellus Marshall same day from UCF. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Beyond those guys. So those are the guys who have had some starts. Then you've got high recruits that haven't seen time yet. Nathan Roy, Brett Carroll, Jerome Williams. All those guys, 4 stars coming into the program. And then you've got others in development. Tony Nelson, who is a guy I could see taking the Tyler Cooper route, where he doesn't play for the first 3 years or so. And then all of a sudden he can be a really valuable piece if it all clicks and it just happens. He's been in the strength program and what have you. But he's the only one I see with that development right now. You've got Spencer Alvarez. You've got Reese Tripp, who is a huge human. And then you've got incoming freshmen, Mark Handy, Nick Spence, Kavion Lee, and Daniel Shipp. I don't think any of those guys are going to be playing impactful football for the Gophers next year. And that's not me saying, like, oh, those guys suck. But it's tough to play as a true freshman offensive lineman, and all of those guys definitely are going to need time. They're not a Greg Johnson at this point. So really, there's not a ton of depth in this room. It's kind of a concern, and it could quite possibly be the shallowest offensive line room I've seen in quite some time. How are you feeling about this offensive line room?
I agree with you 100%. It's super shallow, but I do think there's something to be said about those guys that haven't played yet. Because how do you build a program around just transferring people in and out? You know, like, you have to have a set of guys who at least know the playbook when you get to camp. Like, these guys, like, yeah, they haven't gotten a ton of meaningful football reps, but they've been in practice. They know the playbook. You know, you can still count on those guys, like, especially those, who did you say, like 2 4-stars that haven't really played quite yet?
Yep, 3 of them.
And I think those are the guys that you still have to spend a lot of time focusing on, because you can't build a program. We're not going to transfer in 4-star recruits.
Right.
But if we can return 2 of them and bring in 1, like, that's like Marcellus is going to be an awesome piece to be able to just be like, hey, you play literally wherever we need you right now. Is going to be awesome.
Right.
And so he can do it all. So I think there's something to be said about those guys that are coming up, because you have to be able to build your program around it. I mean, granted, they could be really good and transfer out, but right. You know, you have to hope that they'd stay home. And if it's a core group of guys with a few younger running backs as well, like, they might stick together and be like, okay, let's just keep doing this. Let's see how many years we can get out of this.
Right. No, I'm with you. And I think Nathan Roy, Brett Carroll, those names were intriguing to me when they were coming out of high school. They both were All-American Bowl games from the high school All-Star type game. So, like, those are high-level players in high school that have that high upside. Maybe they get asked to do more earlier than what we maybe would have anticipated. Both of them will be redshirt freshmen this upcoming year. Maybe both of them could end up starting. We'll see on that front. But there's a ton of new Gophers coming in from the portal. I believe we have 10 new commits coming in.
It is going to be so many names I got to learn. I got to learn so many names. It's crazy.
So many names, some of them 5-star names overall. You know, Tristyn, it'd be like that sometimes. But I want to give quick blips of information on some of these new guys for the listeners. And then I also want to get your thoughts on maybe who you think could step up right away. Just quick names maybe that have impressed you when you're quick looking at the research or whatnot. I know you're not a research guy. You don't dive in like that, but I know you've done some. So I want to know your quick thoughts on some of these guys or guys that you're maybe a little bit excited about. My top 3. The 3 I think are going to make an impact for the Gophers in some capacity next year. Marcellus Marshall, who we just mentioned, we'll get into him, Rushan Lawrence, and Javon Tracy. So Marcellus Marshall is an offensive lineman from UCF. He's played and started at UCF for the past 2 years now. He could be the most impactful immediate transfer for the Gophers next year, especially losing Phillip Daniels. But we're losing, besides Phillip Daniels, 3 starters. Ariante Ursary, Tyler Cooper, and Quinn Carroll are all gone. So, like, somebody's got to step up and play, and he has had over 780 snaps in each of the last 3 seasons. Not just 1 year. Each of those last 3 years, he's played over 780 snaps. So, like, a ton of experience. He's also played left tackle, right tackle, left guard, and right guard. So, like, pick a spot. I've been there, and I will hold it down, is what he's been saying. So I'm excited about him. He graded really well in the pass blocking game over the last 2 years at UCF, and UCF is a Power 4 school, so he's seen some good competition in there. Then you move on to Rushawn Lawrence. I think he's going to play on the interior defensive line. He could be a huge, impactful guy as well. I think he's going to be on the inside a lot. He graded at an 86.8 on defense. That's not just good. That's very good when it comes to PFF grades. And Minnesota beat out Oklahoma for him. He got on his Minnesota visit and he was like, yo, this is the spot to be. He had 37 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception last year. What stands out about either one of those two guys for you?
Well, the second two, I mean, I did spend most of my time on Marcellus or whatever. But the D line, we talked about it last week a little bit. Like, that's going to be such a huge impact for the D lineman because we are going to be thin.
Right.
Going to be thin. But he's a big boy. Like, and it's all about the experience for me too. I was looking at a few of the running backs even that we picked up.
Well, we'll get into them in a second too. Yep.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'll wait on that. But no, I think it'll be huge for the D line. I'm super excited. It's just it's hard for me because you don't know what you don't know yet.
Right. And he's coming from Stony Brook, so like, will it translate? Will it translate? Probably.
But hey,
I mean, he's a big dude, but
Max Brosmer.
Yep, there it is.
So
if he can do it, anybody can.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And then Javon Tracy, I mentioned him, a wide receiver from Miami of Ohio. He switched up the Miami of Ohio like Tristyn requested. Nobody wants to be in Miami, Ohio. And 818 yards last year as a sophomore, 7 touchdowns. And I think he could fit that Elijah Spencer role really well. He's 6 foot, 206 pounds, and he was a first-team all-conference receiver last year. I'm super excited by him. We're losing Daniel Jackson. We're losing Elijah Spencer. That's a ton of production gone from this year, so he'll have an opportunity. But let me know what you're thinking about those 3 running backs. You said you did some research on them. We got Cole Cabana from Michigan, Cameron Davis from Washington, and A.J. Turner from Marshall. What's standing out about any of those running backs for you?
Cole Cabana, I'm super excited about. Also, obviously we talked about his name before, but I like how young he is.
Nickname? Coco Cabana? What?
We'll workshop it. We'll workshop it.
That tells me it's not happening. Straight up. It's
done. Oh, no. I'm super excited. I'm mostly excited about, I don't like these transfers like that. Well, I mean, no, I like all the transfers that are coming in. But with like 1 year eligibility left, I like that he has 3 years left like to play because we have guys here already, but it'll be nice to have somebody here when, eventually like Darius Taylor goes off next year. Like, what do we got left? Like right. DT, and so I like that he has a lot of eligibility left and he looks like a stud. So that was a big thing for me when I was looking at the running backs, just because like the 1 year, like we went from having 2-3 running backs and now we're back up to 6. Mm-hmm. So, where are all these snaps going to come from if we got a bunch of guys with 1 year of eligibility left?
Right.
So, I think that kind of stressed me out a little bit.
No, it's a good point. And A.J. Turner also, I think, has 2 years of eligibility left. He comes from Marshall. Super intriguing on my front, I think, because he averaged 8.3 yards per carry, which was like top 5 in the country.
Crazy.
So he was picking up elite yards for the amount of carries. He only saw 104 carries. He saw 15 carries was the most carries he's ever had in a collegiate game. And he had 11 games he played last year. 5 of them he saw double-digit carries between 10 to 15. That's it. Like, he could be an awesome complementary back with some explosion, but he doesn't need all the touches to pop off. Like, he can get it in those few amount of carries, and that might be the perfect type of RB2 to a Darius Taylor at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's wild. 8 points a carry is great.
All right, we got a couple more guys to talk about outside of those running backs. Jalen Bowden, cornerback. I definitely think we need a cornerback in this team. We might even need another one to come through, but he looks like he has solid instincts. He had 7 pass breakups, 1 interception, 19 tackles last year as a sophomore. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, and I think technically he can use a red shirt. The only reason I bring up the red shirt is because this dude is listed at 155 pounds, and that just feels
What?
tiny for a cornerback. Now, ESPN has him at 165. Something else I saw had him at 155. So we're talking probably split the difference. He's probably at like 160. As a cornerback, that might work in the FCS. But when you're talking about he has to play in the Big Ten level, and next year we play Ohio State, so he's going to see Jeremiah Smith. We play Oregon, so he's going to see some of those dogs. I mean,
Is he
we play
crazy
Rutgers.
fast? Is it crazy? He's got to fly around.
I
You got
don't
to fly
know.
around.
I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him, but
That's
overall, the weight
insane.
scares me a little bit. Now he's got 2 years of eligibility, so maybe he can use that red shirt and then keep those 2 years beyond it and really work within the system to get stronger this year, and then really dive into in 2026. We'll see what happens there, but that was the only thing that kind of scared me with him.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think I broke 150 pounds in like the sixth grade. Like that's nuts. That's a little dude. But maybe he can ball,
I
and
mean,
maybe
he was balling
maybe he
last
needs a
year.
program. This is a
Right.
different. It's different up here. They'll get some weight on your bones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, after that, we've got Stephen Curtis, edge rusher. We talked about him a little last show. We both really liked him. One thing I thought of, so we were talking about Stephen Curtis. You said the name was kind of a 1 out of 5 on that scale. You mentioned his middle name is probably like Andrew or something like that. Look, bro, if his middle name is Andrew, he goes from a 1 to a 5 immediately because his initials would be SAC, SAC.
Dude,
Bro, edge rusher with the middle initial SAC or the initial
dominant,
SAC. 5 out of 5. So I hope your middle
dominant.
name is Andrew at this point.
That would
But
be great.
had to
That would
bring
be
that up.
great.
Had to bring that up. And then beyond him, 2 last commits. Drew Biber, the tight end for Purdue. I'm not huge on him, to be honest. Like, I hope he does great. I hope he balls out. But, like, he had 113 yards last year. He's played for 3 years with Purdue, and his blocking grade on PFF is terrible. So, like,
Oh,
that kind of worried me a little bit. Maybe it's just
I
a depth
didn't
piece.
watch any film on him. I just saw his picture. I'm like, oh, looks like a big dude. He looks like a tight end. Looks like a tight end.
And then the final one is Zach Pyron, quarterback, Georgia Tech. We talked about him a little bit last week, but he showed flashes as a freshman as well. 569 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions across like 2 games, I think. So that was nice. Like I said, he held his own against Notre Dame, had 2 interceptions, but 269 and a touchdown against a top 10 defense as a backup. It shows the flashes. It shows the potential. Any of these names overall that you're super excited about, or are you just waiting to see more from these guys?
I mean, I do have to wait and see, but what do you think? Like, Pyron, do you think he comes in and competes right away for the job, or
If I'm
is
being
he
honest,
more of a, yeah,
I think the Gophers probably sold him that way. Like, look, we've got
yep,
a redshirt freshman. We've got a true freshman coming in. We've got Dylan Whitkey, who's going to be a redshirt sophomore. None of them have started a game before. You have. You can come battle it out. I'm guessing that's how they approach that situation. I don't
oh
think they
yeah,
ever say like something's guaranteed there. It sounded like when his dad posted like that he thinks his son could surprise, but it sounded like when his dad posted that they were excited about the program and the culture and everything like
yeah,
that and the chance to compete. So it sounds like he knows there's an opportunity to compete, but nothing's guaranteed. If I'm being honest, I don't think he has a strong case unless he balls out in the spring, because you're talking
right,
about Drake
yeah,
Lindsey, who has been connected to Max Brosmer's hip from the moment that Max Brosmer touched campus last year at this time in the bowl season. He was with him every step of no, I guess that's not true. He came in January because Drake didn't come till January. So but ever since then, he's been locked in, connected to him at the hip, learning his film breakdowns, how he does it, what he's looking for, how he analyzes it, what Max is looking at the line. Then they go and study their game film, and he's like, why did you change this call? Why did you do this? How are you thinking here? Why didn't you hit this look? Like, you have the first-hand answers to the test right in front of you, and he's
yeah.
been with them all year. And then you look at his high school production of like, I think he had 91 touchdowns to like 7 interceptions across 2.5 years. Like, he has the arm, he has the talent, he takes care of the football. That's everything PJ Fleck wants, and now he's been in the
Yep.
system for a year. Good luck. That's all I got to say on that one.
Hey,
Unless
that's
you
what
absolutely ball out, I don't think you're taking the job from him.
that's all. That was my only question. I was curious as to your thoughts on it because I wasn't sure that's exactly kind of where I was, is where he fits into the quarterback room.
Right, right. No, I'm with you. We also brought in a specialist kicker from Syracuse. He's likely just going to do the kickoffs. That's what he did at Syracuse. So hopefully he just keeps booting that thing through the end zone and we call it a day. But those are the transfers. Let us know in the comments over on YouTube if you have any transfers you're really excited about or where we're wrong. If we got something wrong, let us know in the comments. We'd love for your thoughts. But we're going to move from the transfers. I want to briefly talk about Gophers I haven't seen confirm that they're coming back next year. There's been a ton of guys. I mean, like 3/4 of the roster that have said, like, yo, I'm back with Dinkytown Athletes. I'm excited, blah, blah, blah. There's still some bigger names, in my opinion, that haven't done that yet. And I'm starting to get a little nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. The top names in that group: Tyler Williams, the transfer from Georgia last year, wide receiver. We need wide receivers. Kenrick Lanier, a wide receiver. TJ McWilliams, a wide receiver. Like, I was like, these are some of our young studs. And we mentioned this on Locked On when we were there. Like, we were like, are all these dudes going to come back? They haven't gotten like any snaps. And what does the future look like there? My guy, Zaquan Bryan, I haven't talked to him. I haven't asked him about it, but I'm letting him do his thing. I feel like I could ask him and he would let me know, but that's not the type of dude I am when it comes to these things. I'm like, bro,
Just be
take your time.
pounding cats.
Be when you're ready, like hit me with the DM or post it up and I'll retweet it. I'm ready for you. But Zaquan, I think, could be a top cornerback for this team next year. He was the third cornerback on the team this year behind Ethan Robinson and Justin Wally. And both those guys are gone. So, like, you would hope he's back. Rylan Kelly, who was the fourth cornerback, also hasn't done it yet. And then offensive linemen, we've talked about Reese Tripp, Brett Carroll. Neither one of them have posted about it yet. Martin Owusu, Adam Kasai, Theron Randall. Those are all the names that we haven't seen post, like, I'm back with Dinkytown. And that doesn't mean they're not. Maybe they're just not on social media. Maybe they're just not those dudes who are like, yo, I'm trying to post about blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it does give me a little bit concerned. Any of those names that stand out to you or worry you at all?
Nothing that overly concerns me. I think it is going to be a case where a lot of them maybe just not posting, because I think, like, with the transfer window where it's at right now, first of all, I hate the transfer window. The time is so weird, but I get it because you have to get enrolled in your classes and stuff like with all the stuff that Penn State's going through right now with what's his name, like, just leaving because he wants to transfer. That's why I would think if you were going to transfer, you probably would have said something by now. You know, so it's either
creeping with an offer.
unless somebody's calling, I guess you're right. But I would think these guys aren't, like, I would personally just say those are not guys that I would be somebody's calling to drop a bag for.
I think the
You know what
only
I'm saying?
person that has any film out there on the field is Zaquan Bryan, and maybe Rylan Kelly. Otherwise, the rest
Exactly.
of them haven't even seen the field yet.
That's what I'm saying. So I would think that they're probably just like, well, yeah, obviously I'm coming back. I don't need to say nothing about it, as what my hope would be.
That's fair. That's
But
the hope. Hopefully,
you know
we'll
what I'm
see them
saying?
all make the post
Because
tomorrow,
the
and we don't see
transfer
them.
window, the way it works, like, you got to get to that, like, you got to get there for camp, and you got to be
Right.
enrolled in classes for the next semester and all that already. And so I wouldn't.
Right.
I'm kind of not tripping about it.
I mean, we'll find out soon with the bowl game too, because, like, if those dudes are going to be back, they're going to be at the bowl game. So we'll find out relatively soon here. Overall, I think what are your biggest needs for this Gophers team still? What do you think are the positions that worry you the most? Also, move this way a little bit so that way your head isn't. There you go. Perfect.
My bad.
But no, you're good. So which of these positions are the ones that you're most worried about, or you think the Gophers need like one or two more bodies still?
It's got to be the O-line. Like we talked about it before. I mean, we obviously they brought a couple guys in or one guy in, but the O-line is where we're going to either need to bring guys in and have bodies there, or we need guys to show up who have already been there.
Right.
Because the whole offense isn't going to work. Nothing. What happens at quarterback isn't going to matter if the O-line doesn't work. What happens at running back doesn't matter if the O-line don't work. Like, that's such a big part of it. So I'm saying O-line.
I'm with you. That's that O-line. I think you still need two, maybe even three dudes for depth's sake. Linebacker is a little concerning for me.
Yeah.
What is happening with Cody? We still don't know anything about Cody.
You didn't say his name either.
I didn't say his name yet. We don't, because I don't know what's happening. Is he coming back? Is he gonna go? I mean, if I'm him, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get that bread. I'm not gonna get hurt or anything like that. But if he wants to come back and ball out, like, cool, I'll cover you. I'll talk about you every week. Like, it's cool. And I also think we need a true alpha wide receiver. I don't know if Javon Tracy is that. Hopefully, he can shut me up real quick and be like, yo, I'm him. I'm really excited about Nuke Hayes. He is back. He did post his little Dinkytown Athletes post. And look, he was balling in the spring. And I know a lot of people didn't get to see the spring, but I've heard from some of the players, I've heard from some of the coaches, I heard from some of the alum that got to pop in. And then I saw in some of the practices I got to go to, like Nuke Hayes stepped up because a lot of people forget Daniel Jackson wasn't playing for almost all of the spring session.
Yeah.
And I thought Kenrick Lanier was going to be the guy that was like, okay, I'm the next one up. And Nuke Hayes very quickly vaulted himself into the number one role and like was balling, like just absolutely cooking out there. So I'm really excited about him and what he can do moving forward. But that's kind of where I'm at for the potential needs of this team.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. I'm big leaning on that offensive line. We gotta find answers there. I really am hopeful though that we get younger guys that are going to step up.
Yeah,
who have already been in the program. That's my hopes. But
we need some big boys. We need some big sexies to get big and get sexy.
Yes.
But overall, let's talk about the Mayo Bowl because look, bro, I am dying for PJ Fleck to get the Mayo dumped on his head, but we got to get the dub first. So we're going to preview a little bit about this matchup. Anything that you saw with this Virginia Tech team that you were concerned about, or you were like, yo, we need to think about this, or like, what are your thoughts on this Mayo Bowl right now?
I think this might be a blowout. Granted, okay, now all these predictions are barring any Gophers who hold out, don't play, whatever.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Not to play.
Talk about that
because that's a big factor.
Yep.
But who's going to play quarterback for Virginia Tech? They ended the season with like 2 hurt quarterbacks.
If you ask Virginia Tech fans, they said that one of them, and I quote, said, "Get ready to learn Pop Watson." Like he was a language or an accelerated skill to learn. Like Pop Watson was the guy who stepped in at quarterback once Kyron Jones got hurt. So get ready to learn Pop Watson. Apparently, he's going to rip us a new one.
Pop Watson is a phenomenal name. I would love to cheer for a Pop Watson at one point in my life. But I don't think Pop Watson wants to smoke from this defense.
Dude, I feel you. Like, here's the thing. When I look at this Virginia Tech team, I think this is a super interesting game because right now, if you look at the spread, it's 6.5 points in favor of Minnesota. So almost a full touchdown in favor of Minnesota. But if you look at ESPN's predictor, they think that Virginia Tech has a 51.5% chance of winning. Those two things don't add up for me, so that makes it interesting on its own. On top of that, if you just look at the stats of Virginia Tech, you might be like, yo, they might get scrubbed. But if you look at who they played and how close they played them, you can see that this is a team that hangs around, they fight, they're just a dangerous team, and that's what pops off on the film. So they're just like an anomaly. They're so hard to guess on for me. If you look at it, they had a 6-6 record. They are not a 6-6 type team. They might be one of the best 6-6 teams in the country. They were in 5 out of their 6 losses. It was by 1 score. In their 6th one, that wasn't a 1-score game. It was by 10 points. So it's like the lowest you could get almost before it's a 1-score. So like they've been in battles, and the losses were to Vanderbilt, who beat Bama, so they're a good team.
Vandy is no joke. Yep.
Rutgers,
no slouch.
who I can't talk trash about because they beat us. They shouldn't have, but they did. On top of that, they played Miami, who is the second team outside of the playoffs, I think. Like they've been a top 15 team in the country all year. Syracuse, who had the number 1 passer in the country this year when it came to passing yards. Clemson, who just won the ACC championship and is playing in the CFP. And then Duke, who had a really good year. Like, those were their losses. Those are all tough team losses. So how do you feel hearing that information?
That makes me a little more worried, but I'm still pretty confident. I don't know. Okay, so the Gophers go into it, winning our last, 4?
No, because 2.
Oh no, because never mind.
The one before that was Rutgers loss. We've won 1 of our last 3.
We're the same. I don't know why I'm so confident. Then I'm still confident. This defense is still good, and if everyone plays. I mean, I don't. Other than again, Cody Lindenberg, don't know if he's going to play, but most of our defense is probably going to play in the game.
I do think there's going to be some opt-outs. I don't think we've heard about them yet, but if I had to take a shot in the dark right now, I think Ja Joyner is not going to play in this game. I think Ariante Ursery is not going to play in this game. I think Daniel Jackson might not play in this game. And I think Justin Wally is not going to play in this game. Those are, like, I think the highest, most likely NFL guys from this Gophers team. And what we've seen in the last few years across the Gophers bowl games, our guys stick around, our guys travel with the team, but a lot of them don't play. Your brother didn't play, Tyler Nubin didn't play. Even before that, the year before that, John Michael Schmitz didn't play. Mo played like the first quarter, got a touchdown and broke a record, and then was like, I'm done. Like, I think that these NFL guys aren't going to play. So John
Yeah,
Joyner,
you're
Ariante
right.
Archery, Daniel Jackson, Justin Wally, I'm counting them out. I'm saying they're not playing.
And we
Max
lost all
Brosmer
those
said he's
games,
going for
didn't
them.
we? And we lost all those games, didn't we? No, we didn't. No,
No,
we
we love those
didn't.
games. We love those games. You're right. You're right on
It
that
don't
front.
matter.
And
It
plus,
don't matter.
QB1 is playing. QB1 is
All we
playing.
do.
Quinn
Yes, see?
Carroll is playing. The biggest question marks, I think, Elijah Spencer. I think he'll play because, like, he's not a name that's really high on draft radars or anything like
He
that.
might need to play.
If you play and Daniel Jackson doesn't, you can be the number one in this game. Maybe you have a crazy bowl game and people are like, yo, who's this Elijah Spencer kid? Like, it's the perfect opportunity, and it's the Mayo Bowl. Like I said, people are tuning
It's
into it
on TV.
just because it's fun and somebody's getting Mayo dumped on their head. Like,
Yeah.
people want to know who's getting Mayo dumped on their head. So, like, eyeballs will be on the game. So I think it's the perfect opportunity for, like, Elijah Spencer, Ethan Robinson. Maybe he shows out as a number one cornerback if Justin Wally doesn't play. I think Kesich probably plays. Crawford probably plays. Yep. Like, you're not really worried about your kickers getting hurt in one final game. They're probably not doing enough to really exhaust themselves on that front.
Yeah.
I think Callerup is a guy who's culture guy, program guy. He's totally going to play. Henderson, I think, is a guy who could possibly play. And I even think Tyler Cooper, if he's healthy, could possibly play. So there's still a number of starters that I think could take a swing in this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not concerned. It's for some reason the Gophers just get up for those games. I don't know if it's the prep or what, but they come to play. And even those names you just listed of guys who are going to play, it kind of gives you a little bit of confidence. I don't know. It'll be different. I don't know. I think I like how bowl games are done so much different than normal away games because you go there and you kind of spend a few days in that town, or where is it at? North Carolina, South Carolina?
It's in North Carolina, Charlotte.
North Carolina. You spend a few days there and kind of, hang out and kind of get a feel for the town and stuff. So you're not just in and out in a day. So I don't know. I think it's different. Bowl games are different and kids get up for them. So,
Doug, we won a bowl game last year with our quarterback throwing 8 for 16 for 26 yards.
It doesn't even matter. See, we just win. All PJ does is win bowl games.
Darius Taylor popped off. I think Darius Taylor plays in this game. So we got DT. We got Max Brosmer. We're good. We're
fine. We got the guys. We got the guys we need.
And if anybody, Virginia Tech is listening, or people who are like, oh, you're not talking about Virginia Tech, so you don't know. I did do some research on Virginia Tech, and here's why I'm still not concerned. Their offense is centered around running the football, right? They were 30th in the nation, 187.1 yards per game. They were 100th in the passing game, and their number one quarterback is not in. Now, Pop Watson, I'm getting ready to learn Pop Watson, right? Pop Watson, he took over since the injury. He played in 2 games, 57% completion, 400 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The Virginia Tech fan base loves him. I'm not sure he's ready to see the Gophers defense and defensive coordinator. Their quarterback 1 through 9 weeks is Kyron Drones. He was dealing with an MCL, stress fracture, and turf toe. He's probably not going to play. Their number one
missing a whole leg.
Right, he's missing a whole leg. He's like Anakin Skywalker out here in this.
It's crazy.
But overall, their running back was a dog. Tootin is his last name. Tootin, that's right. He had 1,159 yards. 1,159 yards and 15 touchdowns on the year. He's probably not playing in this game. I believe he committed for the draft. I don't think he's playing in this game. Those 2 players, Drones and Tootin, combined for 31 of their 42 touchdowns. That's 74% of their touchdowns. And they were 67% of their rushing yards for this 30th in the nation rushing team. That is far too much to lose in one game for me to be worried about this game. Now, if I look back, this is going to be terrible clip right here if we lose this game.
Yeah.
But we're not going to lose this game, so I'm not worried about it. Now the players 2-0, Pop Watson. I'm still getting ready to learn Pop Watson. I know, like I've said that 3 or 4 times now, but who says that? Like, get
Love
ready to
that.
learn. Like that's me. Like that's like me coming up and say, "Yo, get ready to learn Darius Taylor, homie. You got that DT phone home, homie. You know it. You know like that's just crazy to me. Who says that? Also, if you're
I
gonna do it, I would just say get ready to learn Tootin, because I mean
yo,
Tootin. Like,
Duke is great. This is an all-time name team. Pop Watson and Tootin. This is crazy.
dog, I'm with you. But overall, Pop Watson's the name to know. Ollie Jennings, dude is a baller. He played at a lower level and absolutely balled out multiple 1,000-yard years. They never give him the ball. He was averaging 25 yards per catch, and they've thrown him the ball like 15 times. I'm like, what are
He's
you?
Deshaun Jackson. That sounds
Right,
like Deshaun Jackson.
right. But they're like, nah, that's cool. We won't throw you
It's
the
fine.
ball. They also have their leading receiver playing in this game, so they do have some guys playing. Their defense is their biggest thing overall, but it's nothing I'm afraid of. 54th in total defense, 55th in pass defense, 56th in run defense, 37th in scoring defense. Like, they're outside of the top 50 in most of those. They're really good at turnovers forced, but so are the Gophers, and they're really good at sacks, which the Gophers are not. So if you can
Yeah.
stop them from getting pressure on Max Brosmer, who's really good at reading the field and making decisions and not taking too many sacks, I think this is playing in the Gophers' favor. I'm ready to see PJ get dunked on in some Mayo, and let's go.
Thank you. These sound better. That end we turned you around there because I was worried you were going to be on some Gophers have a tough one. We don't. We don't have a tough one. We'll be fine.
No,
We'll
bro.
be fine.
I just had to keep you on the edge of your seat. And for all those
You always
Virginia Tech fans that are going to come clamoring saying we didn't do any research, I just spit facts. So,
Here's the thing, Virginia Tech fans. I promise I didn't do any research. How about that?
and he's still right.
Exactly. What's going on? Vibes alone.
All right. Yeah. I mean, overall, I'm more scared of the Penn State defense, Michigan defense, and Iowa defense. They looked really good against Penn State and Michigan. We're not going to talk about the Iowa game. So, overall, I'm excited about this game for the Gophers. But what are you looking forward to most in this bowl game?
I think with a bowl game, it's so tough because it's just vibes. It's just vibes alone. Like the big plays are so much bigger. Like the pops are so much big. Well, not that pop, but you know, a big play, a big play happens, and it just feels like it means a lot. Like you know, you got the guys who did opt out on the sidelines, and they're cheering on these younger guys. They're coaching up these younger guys, and I think which I think is what bowl games are supposed to be is really like a celebration of the year because no,
Right.
you're not putting the Mayo Bowl trophy in your trophy case necessarily. You're not putting
Oh, they will.
most
They
bowl
will.
games.
They
Okay,
will.
okay, they will. But I'm saying, I think it's a good celebration, just kind of cap off a year, especially in a year where the Gophers definitely overperformed what most people expected out of them. So I think I'm just excited for the environment.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the environment's super fun. Look, it's one of the most watched bowl games that isn't a top tier bowl game. Even
Yes.
though it might not ring top tier, like it's fun. This one and
Yep.
the Pop Tart Bowls, those are the ones I'm going to be sure to tap in on. I usually watch some Big Ten bowls. I'm absolutely going to watch Ohio State, and I hope they get smacked. But overall, like I am excited about the Mayo Bowl. Now, the last question, we're going to wrap up on this question. Are Who are some young guys that you think could show out for Minnesota in this game? Because over the last few years, you talked about it. The Gophers win bowl games. They find ways to do it. And we've talked about the number of guys that have not or that have opted out for the Gophers in the past, and they're usually those star NFL type players. But we've seen Ja Joyner get his first ever career sack in his first bowl game. We saw Coleman Bryson have a pick six and win the bowl game trophy. We saw Tyler Nubin ball out for his first bowl game. We saw Darius Taylor run for over 208 yards last year. Like some young guys, one or two, maybe three, always pop off for the Gophers in this bowl game. So I want to know, who do you think those young guys could be?
The game, it absolutely screams for that boy Coy. Like it
Ooh.
is it's doesn't I can picture it like a punt return or a big pick six. Like it does scream like, hey, hello world. Like by the end of the game, it's going to be another round of Gopher fans being like, are we sure he's not going to leave? Like, are you sure nobody's calling? Because it's gonna. I think that's
Cash
how
in,
big
cash
this
out.
game
That's
is,
what I'm saying.
and everyone's gonna exactly. But it's gonna be all eyes on, you know, like you said, it's one of the highest watched games of the year, like a bowl game wise. So it's gonna be the whole country, all eyes on that boy Koi. It's gonna be great.
Koi Wonder, the Koi
Koi
Pod.
Wonder.
But look, all the nicknames in the world, the dude's gonna ball out. I'm not gonna copy you there. I
Yes.
think it's a great answer. I have two guys I think could absolutely ball in this. I've mentioned them both in this show already. The first one I think could be Zaquan Bryan. Like I said, if Justin Wally doesn't play, maybe this is
Yeah.
the opportunity for you to be like, look, we're all right at cornerback. Like, I got you. Last year in the bowl game, he got to play. He had a huge pass breakup, big hit on Harold Fannin Jr. Now, a lot of people at that time maybe didn't know too much about Harold Fannin Jr. Harold Fannin Jr. was tied for the best tight end in the country this year. Like, he laid a smack on this dude. I believe he knocked him out of the game. He knocked out a huge third down and long. That's the potential he has. He's fast. He lays big hits. Even in high school, I remember watching this hit he made on somebody that it was a funny video that someone took there. They're like, oh, that's my son. That's my son. And Zaquan popped the dude, like absolutely lit him up. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's your son? That's your son? Like, it was crazy. And I'm excited by him. I think he's going to ball out. And then the other one is Nuke Hayes. I think if Daniel Jackson sits in this game, you find a way to get a younger guy involved. I told you he stepped up in the spring for Daniel Jackson. I think this is the time where you're like, look, come show the world. Come do it. Max Brosmer's here. If you run your routes, you separate, you do the Daniel Jackson route or roll, you're going to get the Daniel Jackson looks. Like, come show.
Yo, there's a real world where Nuke Hayes is my favorite player next year. There's a real world. Like if they can find a way to get him touches, I'm very excited.
Very excited. But that's going to do it for us on the second episode of the Gopher Broke podcast. We're still working on a little bit of an intro song. You heard the music, but we're going to get some lyrics in there. We're still working on maybe some of the finer details of like the production elements, but you hear what the show is each and every week. Hopefully you'll tell friends about the show. Hopefully you'll keep tapping in. Hit subscribe over on YouTube. Find us where you get podcasts because we will be there soon. I'm still working on that. But next week or next episode, next week's a holiday. We'll see if we can make that happen or not. If we can't, we will be back the following week. But what we'll talk about some official predictions for that bowl game before we actually play it. Because that's what we're known for, right? That's what we did every week in Lockdown. So we'll do some predictions. I want to ask you to think about if Max Brosmer is a Gopher great after 1 year. That'll be something we talk about. And then finally, we're going to give out awards for the 2024 season. We're going to give out our favorite player award. We're going to give out best defender, biggest sleeper, all that stuff. We're giving out those awards. So be sure to hit subscribe and tap in at the Gopher Broke podcast. We'll see you next time.